Welcome in latest episode of that SEC podcast. I'm your host, Michael Braden. I go by SEC Mike on Twitter. And I'm joined, as always, by my cousin Shane, who goes by Big Orange Vols on Twitter. What's up, yo, Tennessee Homer?
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Oh, well, today is your lucky day, my friend, because the fall camp preview series rages on, by this time with them Tennessee Vols.
Oh, baby. Well, let me get my Big Orange Homer hat on here.
How are we feeling, Shane? How are we feeling about these Vols? Does it feel like 98 here?
Well, I don't know about 98. Yeah, it kind of does. It feels like we've just been missing a few pieces, that we've been so close. We got a nice taste of it with Hendon Hooker back there we saw what this Heupel system can look like.
Right.
And now we got a quarterback that can run it. So that's why the optimism, it all comes down to Nico. And you're going to hear that name probably about 15 times during this show. But that's exactly why we're so high and excited, because we finally got a quarterback that will fit perfectly in Josh Heupel's system.
Right, and I finally learned it just for this show, Shane. Amaliava. So let's get into the Tennessee preview here. And real quick, as always, last season, Shane went 9-4. Absolutely smoked, Shane, Iowa in the Citrus Bowl, which gives fans such optimism. Beat them 35-0. That was Nico Amaliava's first start. He was MVP of the game. James Pierce, our nightmare edge rusher there, pick six. Mm-hmm. He was a game breaker. Our running back, Dylan Sampson, he got his first career start. He's going to be a starter this year. He had a great game. So it was like a glimpse of this upcoming season, Shane. It's almost like the bowl game has become what the spring game used to be. You know what?
Yeah, that's exactly right. It was a preview, because again, Coach held Nico from us, and there were several games here. It's like, why ain't he in there? So right. now the reins have officially been handed over, and what's so exciting about it, man, is like you said, some of these other players that are starting to emerge around him, that I think will become better because they finally have. Man, I'm just pumped up, brother. How can you not be pumped up about this year?
Right, and it all starts with Josh Heupel, Shane, our head man here. 55-20 career record, 6 seasons as a head coach. He was 28-8 at Central Florida. He's 27-12 at Tennessee with a 14-10 record in the SEC. But fair or not, Shane, I mean, I think this year Heupel's got a lot on the line. Mm-hmm. Because you remember coming into last season, everybody, this was one of the hottest coaching candidates in the country. Some people had him as a top 10 coach. I think you could make the case he's still there, but it's wild how one 9-win season has kind of cooled his the star, the rising star of his name. Even though 9 wins for Tennessee, you look back over the last 20 years, that's one of the best records they've had.
Yeah.
And I guess the point I'm trying to make, Shane, is there's people that are in on Heupel, there's people that are out. And again, I'm not talking about the fans, but I'm saying just people, when you look at the SEC, who's one of the better coaches. Most people had Heupel in that last year. Mm-hmm. Today, I think it's kind of a split, 50-50. So I think Heupel has got something to prove here. And if Tennessee has the year we think they could have, he's going to vault himself into the conversation as one of the best coaches in the entire country.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head there, man. I think there's a few folks out there that says, hey, man, they figured out this gimmick. That's what I hear all the time, this gimmick offense, this one-hit wonder that Tennessee Vols had. They were a flash in the pan. But again, as a Tennessee homer, you're looking at it like, hey, we were just missing some key pieces. So I think there's a real reason for optimism, but maybe from an outsider looking in, I could see where you could be pessimistic and say, hey, this isn't going to work in the SEC, and last year was proof, even though you won nine games,
Right. And we've had a ton of coaching continuity under Heupel, but we did have 2 new assistants on the coaching staff this year. Shane, linebackers coach William Engel He was the Washington co-defensive coordinator, linebackers coach last year. They went on, of course, to the national championship game. And, man, he coached this guy, Shane. Buckus Award finalist. I'm absolutely going to butcher his kid's name, Shane. Edufin Oluwafusi. Hell of a player, apparently. But that was, one of his star pupils there at Washington. He was at Fresno State as a co-defensive coordinator, linebackers coach the 2 years prior. So he's been with Kayla DeBoer for 4 years. And they tried to hire him down there at Alabama, and then he did at the 11th hour. He said, I'm going to Tennessee. I'm going to go to where a coach I believe in up there is coaching. So, that's an interesting addition. And then running backs coach Darrell Sims. He was at Cincinnati last year, Shane. Cincinnati was number 5 in the country in rushing yards. That's our new running backs coach. He was at Louisville the 2 years before, and ECU the 2 years before that, all coaching running backs. So he's been around the block. And a real up-and-comer in the coaching world.
Yeah. No, but
as for...
Oh, sorry. No, please, continue. It's your show. We're just living in it, man.
As for returning production, Shane, now, again, there's pluses and minuses here. Tennessee does not rate very highly on this, Shane. 39.9% of the offensive production is back on the offensive side of the ball. That's only 9th in the SEC. Passing yards, only 11% back. That's 11th in the SEC. But with Nico in there, again, not a high percentage, but there's optimism that he could be an improvement.
Yeah.
Which is unique. And same thing I would say at running back. Only 33% of the production's back. That's 10th in the SEC. But a lot of people think Dylan Sampson, who was third string last year but finished second on the team in rushing with 604 yards, 7 touchdowns, could be an upgrade over Wright last year. So, again, we're new faces, but not totally freshmen or anything of that nature. It's kind of a money year for Nico and Dylan Sampson, so it'll be interesting to see. Now, receiving, we got a lot back here, Shane. 57.8% back. That's number 6 in the SEC. 4 of our top 6 returning receivers are back on Rocky Top. And offensive line snaps, 57%. That's 11th in the SEC. Any cause for concern for you, Shane, that we don't return a crazy amount of production from last fall?
Not so much for the quarterback room, but
right.
Obviously with the offensive line, we're going to talk about some key pieces we've added, but there's still a little bit of concern with depth, I think, on that side, because I think part of the problem Tennessee had last year was lack of that at the tail end of the season. I mean, it's all rainbows and sunshine until you have one or two of these guys go down, and then all of a sudden the world's ending. So that's the only one. The wide receiver room is kind of skewed a little bit. Obviously, Brew McCoy injured a lot of season last year. He's going to be back, but I like this receiver room. They're very different. Every single one of them brings something a little bit different to the table.
Yep. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, Shane, 39% of our returning production is back. That's 13th. In the SEC on the defensive side, tackles, 42%. Now, here's where they take a hit, Shane. Their top 6 tacklers gone off the roster from last year. So that's interesting. Tackles for loss, 53% are back. Sacks, 61% are back. And then in the defensive backfield, again, we're basically dead last here. Interceptions back, 16%. Passes defended back, 24%. That's dead last in the SEC. So a totally reworked secondary. But if you watch Tennessee the last couple of years, not necessarily a bad thing.
No, not at all. And I think a lot of fans out there are like, well, we're making room for improvement here. So there's only one way to go, Mike, and that's up. You know?
Right. Now, how about our outgoing transfer? We had a couple guys here that I think will make, leaving a little bit of a hole, so to speak. Tyler Barron, he's went to 6 different schools since he left Tennessee, so I don't even know where he's at now. I think Miami, but I always thought he was underrated. I think that's somewhat of a loss. Gerald Mincey, the offensive lineman, now he's going to probably start up there at Kentucky, so that'll be a fun game when Kentucky comes to town.
He's learning football for the first time up there.
Linebacker Elijah Herring, he left. He's at Memphis now. Offensive lineman Addison Nichols, he's now at Arkansas, projected starter. Defensive back Danico Slaughter, also at Arkansas, projected starter there. Brandon Turnage, defensive back to Ole Miss. Demarion McDonald, defensive back to Louisville. And defensive back Wesley Walker to Louisville. And defensive back Warren Burrell to Georgia Tech. So there's our entire defensive backfield. They're playing elsewhere. That's why, and again, they ain't going to Georgia or anything like that, but it's just, that's going to be probably the biggest question mark for me is the secondary for the Vols.
Yeah, quite the exodus there on the old defensive back squad. But again, that was a squad that was scrutinized the most. So
right,
if you were thinking that anybody was going to leave, yeah, it would probably be those guys.
Right. Now, as for the guys we're bringing in, more importantly, Shane, we didn't load up on transfers. What we did at Tennessee, they added key pieces.
Yeah.
Quantity or quality over quantity as opposed to some. But On3 had us as the number 35 transfer class in the country. 24/7 Sports has us as number 32 transfer class. So they're right on par there. But the guy everyone's excited about, Shane, receiver Chris Brazzell from Tulane.
Yeah.
44 catches, 711 yards, 5 touchdowns just last season at Tulane. Now he's getting paired with Nico. Who knows the damage he could do. Lance Hurd, offensive lineman, projected starter at left tackle from LSU. Played 195 snaps at LSU last year. He was a 5-star. He was the highest rated prospect they had in their 2023 signing class. He played in every single game for the Tigers last fall. Tight end Holden Stays. He was the number 1 tight end in the portal from Notre Dame. He's played 22 career games up there. He's got 4 touchdowns. Miles Kitzman from Alabama, another tight end. He's played 19 games. He made a lot of waves in the spring. Jackson Moa, that name to know, Shane, Stanford defensive lineman, 24 games, 37 tackles up there for Stanford. And then we've added defensive backs to shore up the guys that left. Cornerback Gerard McCoy from Oregon State. He was freshman, All-American, 12 games played, 31 tackles, 2 picks. Jalen McMurray from Temple, 90 career tackles up there at Temple, a pick, 11 passes defended. And Jacoby Thomas from MTSU, 108 career tackles, 4 picks, 8 passes defended. So you lose some, you gain some. That's the way it is up here on Rocky Top.
That's the way it is everywhere these days. You know what I'm saying? So you're just trying to find your space. And I'm like you, it's more about the quality than the quantity. Some of these guys that you mentioned are going to be day one starters and key contributors to them Tennessee Vols.
Right. And you can say the same thing about the signing class,
Yeah.
Shane. Tennessee, number 14 signing class in the country. That's 8th in the SEC. But a couple of 5-stars, Shane, that really could make an impact this year. Jordan Ross, the number 3 edge defender in the country, and Mike Matthews. My word, Shane. Every time we talk to someone and they know Mike Matthews, they say, watch out for this guy. Number 6 receiver prospect in the country. He could kind of fill that Jalen Hyatt role, but imagine Jalen Hyatt, but a thicker prospect. This guy can bust tackles as easily as he can blow past everybody. So Mike Matthews, I'm fascinated to see what the 5-star, if he can make an impact as a true freshman. Heupel does not often put freshman receivers out there, but he's done it before. Squirrel White made a nice impact his first year on Rocky Top. If Mike Matthews can come along quicker than anticipated, he could be the breakout star of the entire SEC.
Buddy, we were at that On3 event a few weeks ago. We talked to Austin Price. We'll link it here. And I will tell you, brother, he got me excited about Mike Matthews. I was already on cloud 9 that we got him, but he's talking about a dude that could change Tennessee's trajectory here. So obviously I'm pumped when I hear Austin say something like that.
Right. And we got 11 4-stars in the class too, Shane, headlined by Boo Carter, number 4 safety. He's so good, Shane, he may start as a true freshman as a safety for Tennessee.
Cool name.
Peyton Lewis, number 12 running back in the country. Braylon Staley, the number 21 receiver in the country. Bennett Warren, the number 11 offensive tackle prospect in the country. Caleb Beasley, the number 21 corner in the country. Jake Berlinger, number 11 quarterback in the country. And Edwin Spillman, the number 28 linebacker in the country. Those are kind of the freshmen that I could see making an impact for Tennessee this fall. Although certainly you don't want to see Berlinger starting this season, but it could be a valuable backup here.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're going to have them. And because Nico, I mean, he is mobile, and we've seen mobile quarterbacks in the SEC, so you always got to be prepared for a backup. But I do like some of the ads here. Some of these kids, get some of that weight on them, could be contributors, especially late in the season when you really need them.
Right. Now, as for the projected depth chart and ranking, the offensive position group, Shane, I know you love the receivers, and we'll get to them in a minute, but I'm going offensive line. I think they're going to lead the way for the Vols this year. We're bringing back 3-year starter Javonta Spraggins on the interior. He's a hell of a player. Cooper Mays, I think he's the best center in probably the entire country, but certainly the SEC. He's got 32 starts under his belt. John Campbell started for us at left tackle, shifting over to right tackle this year. I love that trio there of returning starters. Experienced returners, Dane Davis, Andre Carrick, and Jackson Lampley, Lampley's played in 39 games as a Tennessee Vol. So we've got some pieces to work with there. And then the transfer, Lance Hurd, 5-star left tackle, plug-and-play center here, left tackle. I think we've got 4 spots. We absolutely know who's going to be starting. It's about finding that left guard. And I think Tennessee's offensive line could be the best in the SEC this fall.
Ooh, baby. Ooh, talk dirty to me, Mike.
And then we get to the receiver, Shay. Your favorite. We know you love the fast guys.
Hey,
here.
Whoa. I like the big guys. And I will say, you look at years past, some of the best teams to come through the SEC, it was from those big uglies up front. So I'm pumped up about both sides of this line of scrimmage, but sprinkling the talent around them, which you're about to get to, is why I'm over the moon with this team.
Right, and led the way by Squirrel White, Shane. I love that guy. 67 catches, 803 yards, 2 touchdowns in his Tennessee career. Brew McCoy, 17 catches last year, 217 yards and a touchdown. Would have had a hell of a lot more, but unfortunately, devastating season-ending injury. He's back, better than ever. Experienced returners, Shane, Dante Thornton. Another guy that got injured, though, unfortunately. 13 catches, 224 yards and a touchdown last year. Chaz Nimrod, 19 catches, 194 yards and a touchdown. Caleb Webb, 16 catches, 166 yards and a touchdown. And Nathan Leacock, redshirt freshman, who had a huge camp last year. He's one to know. Throw in the transfer, Chris Brazel we mentioned, and the freshmen, Mike Matthews and Braylon Staley. We got too many receivers to go around here. That's a good problem to have.
Absolutely. It's just finding those top 3, those top 4, and some of these names that we talk about early season, don't be surprised if some of these new names don't emerge toward the tail end of the season. That's one thing I love about Heupel's offense is he does an awesome job about kind of rotating these guys because they're out there, dude. They are out there running constantly. It's like a soccer match sometimes, so I like being deep in this room.
Now, how about tight end? We know Shane secretly loves. He always wants a good receiving tight end. I think they've got one. And Ethan Davis. He was a freshman last year, got a little banged up, had to redshirt, but he's back. He had 2 catches last year. I think he's poised for a big sophomore season. We got the transfer I mentioned, Holden Stays and Miles Klitzman from Bama and Notre Dame, respectively. And then don't forget this. This is a name to know, Shane. I don't know how far along he's come, but Emmanuel Okoye, he was a 4-star recruit, signed him last year. He was discovered at some Nigerian football camp, and they're just saying, man, this guy could literally play any position on a football field. They had to figure out where's the best place to put him, and they're still teaching him the game of football. So he's just in his 2nd year. I don't know how big of an impact he'll make this fall, but if he starts to come along, he is one, maybe not as a receiving threat, but as a blocker, you really got to keep your eye on. Emmanuel Okoye, and then they also got a freshman, Cole Harrison, the number 39 tight end prospect in the country. I like this tight end room.
Sounds like a Disney movie, you know?
He makes the game-winning catch against Georgia, and it's just
Absolutely.
they don't even know who he is.
No,
You know what?
you don't even know if he's in the right end zone, you know?
All right, how about running backs? I got them next, Shane. I'm so high on Dylan Sampson. 604 yards last year, 7 touchdowns. Again, third string, but every time he came on the field, I mean, it was just like, wow, that's the guy right there.
Right.
So we'll see what he does. I love Cam Seldon. Unfortunately, he got banged up in the spring. We'll see, how early he can make an impact, but they were comparing him to Debo Samuel down there in high school. So Cam Seldon, can't wait to see what he does. Khalifa Keefe is back, and Deshaun Bishop, who redshirted last year, and throw in the true freshman Peyton Lewis, All-American in high school, number 12 running back prospect in the country. Largely unproven room, but a room that's got a lot of talent at the running back position.
A lot of talent. And that's the one thing about Heupel's system. You quickly go from quarterback to receiver, but it's usually the running backs that excel here. So I'm expecting a big year for Sampson.
Right. And then, hey, this is interesting, Shane. I don't know if you'll agree, but I got the quarterbacks dead last, even though we're high on Nico. I'm not calling him out or anything, but Nico's back, 314 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. The backups, Gaston Moore, he's a walk-on. And then I guess technically third string's true freshman Jake Merklinger. So this is not about the talent necessarily. This is about a lack of experience. And for a team that's going to be probably like preseason top 15, it's wild that this is kind of our quarterback room. And again, I'm not calling them out, but it's just, I mean, we're one play away from starting a walk-on here or a true freshman for a team that's got playoff hopes.
God, why are you putting that? This is about being positive about the Tennessee Vols, and now you're just putting that little negative seed in there. But I see why you're doing it, because you're right. They are extremely thin. Kind of surprised me we didn't hit that a little bit harder in the transfer portal, but we're here. We this is what we got. We're like this close to going like full Kentucky like they did a few years ago, Just put Brazzle back there and see what happens, or Squirrel.
All right, as for the defensive line, Shay, this is an easy one right here. I think this is the best defensive line in the entire SEC coming back, Shane. James Pierce, first team All-SEC last year. 16 and a half tackles for loss, 12 sacks, pick 6, 33. I mean, this guy's a damn beast here. If you don't know where he is on the field, if you're an opposing offense, you're in trouble because he's coming for your quarterback. He may be the best defender in the entire SEC. Omari Thomas, often overlooked. He's played 47 games, 29 starts, 88 tackles, 11 tackles for loss. Bryson Eason, another. All three of these guys returning starters, 34 games, 49 tackles, 10 tackles for loss. And, oh, buddy, buckle up because we got some returning experience behind these guys. Tyree West, 23 games he's played for the Vols. Joshua Josephs, he's also played 23 games, 30 tackles, 4 sacks is back. Elijah Simmons, remember the big band down there? He's still back.
Sing.
41 games played, 6 starts, 46 tackles. Omar Norman Lott, he's a game wrecker. He's played 31 games, 26 tackles, 5.5 sacks. Dominique Bailey's back, 25 tackles. David Hobbs, he was a 5-star freshman last year. He played in 10 games. He's back. Chardavian Bradley, borderline 5-star. He redshirted last year. Tyree Weathersby, Shane, in camp they were saying this is the best damn freshman we got. Unfortunately, he got hurt, didn't play last year, so he redshirted. Caleb Herring's back, and then the transfer Jackson Moe. I mean, we're like 15 deep on the defensive line.
Oh, don't you love it? I mean, you got to remember what it looked like when Heupel first got there. You know what I'm saying? we were getting kids out of the stands and put pads on them. So it's nice to have that competitive depth, brother. You talk to a lot of insiders. This is the first. Like, if you were to say what is the best position that Tennessee's in, and they all say defensive line, brother. So you got to be excited about that.
And if you could be dominant up front, Shane, it's going to solve so many issues on the back end. Not only that, but it's going to make or break, how far this team can go this fall in the SEC. So very high on our defensive line here.
That's
on
why
Rocky
you
Top.
shine. This big body up here taking all the hits, and then you're sitting back there.
Exactly. All right, how about linebacker Shane? Keenan Pili, 194 tackles, 11 and a half tackles for loss. He's back. He missed most of last season. Those stats mostly at BYU, but he's a leader on this team. Jeremiah T-Lander, true freshman last year. Shane had 35 tackles. He's back. Aaron Carter, another star freshman last year, 17 tackles before he got banged up. Caleb Perry, 24 games played, 34 tackles. And Jalen Smith, who redshirted last year. And throw in the freshman, Edwin Spielman, number 28 linebacker prospect in the country. A lot of talent in this linebacker room.
Yeah, and again, I keep referencing, but Price talked about Pili being that guy that can just control the defense. He's really got to be the one that steps up for them Tennessee Vols, and if he does, buddy, watch out. This program could be really serious on that side of the ball.
Right. Now, how about in the defensive backs? No starters back, which is a little bit of a concern, but plenty of guys that have played, Shane. Christian Charles, he's played in 20 games for us, got 43 tackles. Andre Turrentine, he's played 23 games, 29 tackles. He had a pick in the bowl game last year that kind of broke that thing wide open. Ricky Gibson, star freshman last year, played in 12 games. Jordan Thomas is back. He's played 24 games for us. Jordan Matthews was a star freshman. He redshirted last year. Christian Harrison played. John Slaughter has played. And then the transfers, Jermod McCoy, Jalen McMurray, Jacoby Thomas, and the freshman Boo Carter, Caleb Beasley. A lot of talent. We got to figure out where all these pieces go.
Yeah.
But this is a unit that is going under the radar that could really surprise some people this fall.
It really could, man. And again, it goes back to that defensive line, how productive they can be. I mean, if you got dudes living in the backfield and they don't have time to get that ball out, then all of a sudden your secondary looks a lot better. So right. I think they're set up pretty good here.
Mm-hmm. Now, a little uncertain on who the kicker is going to be, though, Shane. We got to get this figured out. We got two candidates, so Josh Turbeville and JT Carver, who they've been on the team. They've handled kickoffs.
Yeah.
I think they're one of one on PAT, so they haven't missed yet. Yeah. So, but I don't know who it's going to be there. As for punter, we're bringing back Jackson Ross. He was freshman All-SEC last year. He's an Aussie, Shane.
Yeah.
So, you got an Aussie back there. You're all right. You know what?
I need him to pull it a few more times, keep him honest. But, yeah, we had to constantly hear how he could do it with both legs,
I was about to say it. I'm glad I didn't.
Well, it's like Tennessee, we got to hear last year how far Milroe could throw, and this guy could kick with both sides, That's like the notes that they had for every football game.
Yep. All right, how about the top 10 rated players, Shane, off Tennessee's roster in the new EA Sports college football video game? Here's my projection, Shane. I think you already know where I'm going, number one overall, but I'll go James Pierce, the edge rusher.
Yeah.
Give me a 98 for James Pierce.
98? He can't get a 99?
Nope.
They're thinking he's going to be the first pick of the NFL draft, and you don't have him 99? Jeez.
Nope. True juniors cannot be 99s in that game. That's just the rule there. If he wants to come back for senior year, he'll be a 99. How about that, Shane?
What did you give Luther?
I gave him a 99.
Yeah. Oh, is he a senior? I forgot.
He's in my mind. He is. All right. How about Cooper Mays, Shane, center? I'm giving him a 97.
Yeah.
I think he's our best player on offense. Omari Thomas, defensive lineman, giving him a 97 on that defensive interior. Javonta Spraggins, right guard, give me a 95. Nico Iamaliava, 94 overall. Breakout player, top 5 on the Vols. Dylan Sampson, running back, 94. Arian Carter, linebacker, 92. Lance Hurd, our new left tackle, 91. Linebacker Keenan Pili, give me a 90. And John Campbell, starting right tackle, 89. So I love what they have in the trenches here on Tennessee's roster.
Yeah, me too, man. Look at all them 90s. It feels like 98 now, doesn't it?
Now, how about the biggest camp questions for Tennessee, Shane? And for me, it's a lot about the defensive backs.
Yeah.
Identifying who could play, who can't, who's going to start, who's going to be backups. I mean, a lot of uncertainty in the defensive backfield, but thankfully you got a lot of options there.
No, absolutely. I think that is the one that is going to be sitting out there because again, it's a lot of new names, new systems. So, but I have full confidence that they'll figure it out. You know,
Right. And how about remember we going back to the new coaches, new coaches at linebacker, new coaches at running back. Those are two positions with a lot of turnover. So finding the rotations with a new position coach, I think that'll be paramount. That'll be often overlooked in fall camp at linebacker and running back. We got to get us a left guard, starting left guard. That's going to be, to solidify our offensive line. And really just the kicking game. So not a lot of big issues here for Tennessee, but just some things that need to be worked out that I think they can resolve in fall camp.
Yeah, I'm with you. Secondary obviously is one of my biggest concerns. Just figuring out that top 5 rotation with the offensive line, I could get behind. I'm a little worried about the quarterback room. I mean,
right.
In a perfect world, your quarterback stays healthy 24/7, but he's not a quote unquote pocket passer, and that's what worries you a little bit.
Yeah, not a big man. You know what?
Yeah, no. Big heart, though. 5-star.
All right, so let's get down to the schedule breakdown. And as we always do, we assign these games win, loss, or toss. Should be a win, should be a loss, and a complete toss-up here. And you're going to like this one, Shay. I think you're going to agree with me a lot on this one. I got a bunch of games here that just on paper should be wins for them Tennessee Vols. I'm going right out the gate. Chattanooga, easy. Kent State, also easy at home. I'm saying at Arkansas. I'm saying Kentucky at home. I'm saying Mississippi State at home, UTEP at home, and at Vanderbilt. I have 7 that is listed as should be basically, I don't know if easy is the right word, but just it's hard for me to imagine Tennessee losing any of those 7 games.
Yeah, the only other one I'd throw in there is NC State. I know everybody's trying to convince me that it's going to be a football game, but it won't be. So that's the only one I would argue that should be wins.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm glad you went there. I threw NC State as a toss-up. Again, I don't really truthfully know how good they're going to be, but everybody keeps telling me they're going to be good. So it just seems classic Tennessee to drop a damn game like this in Charlotte. So that to me is listed right now as a toss-up. At Oklahoma, I have as a toss-up. Florida, that's more about the history and everything there that goes with it, but I have that as a toss-up. And Alabama, believe it or not, Shane, I think Alabama, Tennessee in Neyland Stadium, that's a toss-up.
Yep. Yeah, I'm right there with you.
So I only have one game that I think is unlikely to be a win, and that is
UTEP.
At Georgia.
Oh, Georgia. Yeah. I'm messing with you. Yeah, I'm right there. It doesn't help that it's away, but again, it's realistic, man. You got to be – Georgia is on a different level right now, and it's late in the season, so I'm right there with you.
Okay, so let's pick the game, Shane, game by game. And as always, we do this – with our orange-colored glasses on, best case scenario.
That'll be tough to do, but I can handle it.
Take off them glasses, Shane. Put on your Tennessee glasses. Let's break this down. I mean, Chattanooga, give me a break. This is going to be that classic Heupel type. And we, quite frankly, we didn't get this last year, which I'll be glad to get it back. Where we score on the 3rd play, we score on the 6th play, we score on the 7th play, and we may have a drought. We don't score again till the 13th play. But it'll be like we could go 70-7 in Chattanooga.
Absolutely, and this is where that Heisman hype starts. Like this is Nico. This is his year. I think they stretched this offense. Josh Heupel was not happy with the way the last season played out. You just shock the world and come out here with a big win. Not shock the world, but you know what I'm saying. Just like grab their attention with a hanging 70 points on them type game.
Right, yeah. You really got them orange glasses on, Shay. There's going to be Heisman hype after beating Chattanooga.
No,
I mean, I don't think anybody's going to watch this damn game unless you're a Tennessee guy.
When Nico has 5 touchdowns, you can only imagine that our timeline was going to be full of just Tennessee. This is their year, So it's happening. Just be ready.
Give him the Heisman. He beat Chattanooga. All right. Maybe next week, though. The next week, that's the critical one. NC State. Again, this is preseason top, not 25, top 20 is what I'm seeing, Shane.
Yeah.
I guess they got heating up. Dave Doran down there, he's never really won big, but he wins 8-9 games every damn year.
Yeah.
So now it isn't a terrible league, so we got to throw that in there too. But NC State, interesting matchup in Chattanooga. This is, we'll find out a lot about Nico in this matchup and the secondary for Tennessee. But again, if Tennessee is who we think they are, and we're chalking up teams like Alabama as a toss-up, how in our right mind can we sell to these fine folks listening that NC State's going to beat Tennessee in Charlotte? So that is a win, but I'm just nervous about it. But, this is not against Heupel or this Tennessee program, but in years past, previous coaches, they drop games like this, and it would start a downward spiral.
Yeah, you got a little bit of that PTSD, so I understand it. I completely get it, brother. But, last time Tennessee and NC State played, it was the same thing. Man, this should be a football game. Tennessee's probably going to be an underdog. Dave, Emerson, he's just the greatest cornerback ever played football till Cordero Patterson whooped his ass. So this is not a football game, Mike. This is again I think week one. If you're going to gamble on a game, this is the one you want to put your money on, because people are convincing you right now that this should be a football game. But after they hang 70 points on Chattanooga, that spread is just going to go, So get in there while you can. This is a big win for Tennessee Vols.
I just pulled up NC State's schedule, Shane. So they went 9-4 last year. Pretty good, right?
Right.
They beat VMI. Never even heard of that school.
Blind Institute. Yep.
They beat UConn by 10. They beat Marshall by 7. They lost to Duke by 21 points.
Oh, yeah.
They lost to Notre Dame by 21 points. But they did go on a heater here. Maybe this is where the hype's coming. They beat Clemson.
Mm-hmm. Everybody did.
Miami, Wake Forest, Virginia Tech, North Carolina. That they won all those to close out, but then they lost the bowl game to Kansas State. Come on, get the hell out of here with this hype. You know what?
No, it's a fun story, and it's usually most ACC schools we do.
Right.
I mean, we rooted for them in the NCAA or the basketball tournament. We're like, come on, man, beat them. We fell in love with that cute story as they come out with their boombox. So I don't know who's wearing the boombox to this game, but they'll be unplugging that bastard by half.
So then week 3. Kent State, again, get the hell out of here. This is going to be a 40, 50-point ball game, don't you think?
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, so we're cruising to 3-0. I think that should be the expectation for all Tennessee fans. But then it gets ramped up, Shane, at Oklahoma. And I don't recall who said this, but I heard it recently, Shane. They said, believe it or not, this is wild. And keep in mind, they never play Texas at home. But I heard someone say, media member out there, this could be the biggest home game in Oklahoma history.
Oh, wow.
So, they are amped up for this bad boy. I'm going to be up there for them coming into the SEC. And it's not Norman celebrating it, Shane. It's the state of Oklahoma is celebrating Oklahoma, the university, joining the SEC July 1st. So they're all fired up. The reunion of Josh Heupel. This is going to be one hell of a game, and I truly do think it's a toss-up. It's like 51%, 49%. You could twist and pull me either direction. I'd believe you, Shane. But when you ask me, who do I like better? Do I like Josh Heupel or I like Brent Venables? I like Josh Heupel. Do I like Nico or I like Jackson Arnold? I like Nico. And they don't have a James Pierce on Oklahoma. They got Danny Stutzman, but they don't got a James Pierce.
Yeah.
And Tennessee, what did we just talk about? How incredibly deep and talented this defensive line is. That's the biggest weakness on the Oklahoma Sooners' entire roster. Right. Maybe the biggest weakness of any position group in the SEC of any team. So I think Tennessee's defensive line has its way with Oklahoma's offensive line, and that'll be key. Because I truly do think it's going to be back and forth, very tight game. But give me the edge to Tennessee. I think the Vols get to 4-0.
This is a big game. Big game for Heupel, obviously going back home. But, I think it's a big game for both teams. Like you said, Oklahoma's first SEC matchup. There's going to be they're going to make a fan spectacle of it, we know this coming into it. Nico on the road, how does he do under, Oklahoma, say what you want about the offensive line and maybe some of the troubles they're having on that side of the football. That defense is really good. And they're going to give Nico a hard time. They've got 3 games that they've watched now. So who knows? I think you don't want this to turn into a barn burner if you're Oklahoma. And I think that's kind of what happens. I think we start, trading some points here and Oklahoma just can't keep up. So give me Tennessee.
Right. Now, thankfully, we'll have 2 weeks to prepare, Shane, because we got a tough road game here, a little bit of a trap game at Arkansas. And again, I'm hearing fantastic things about their new quarterback, Talon Green. They got him from Boise State. Bobby Petrino's taking over the offensive play calling. So he's going to have some tricks up his sleeve for this matchup against Tennessee. I think Arkansas's offense, they return more receiving production than anybody in the SEC. That's a mismatch for Tennessee's secondary. So I think this game, too, is one you got to, I think we're all chalking it up to an easy W. Last time Tennessee went out to Fayetteville, they lost. I mean, that it is a home environment that is not easy to deal with. So I think this is a much tougher game than people anticipate. Not quite calling it a coin flip like the Oklahoma game, but if you're good enough to beat Oklahoma on the road, I certainly think you're good enough to beat Arkansas on the road. But this will not be a given. Give me Tennessee, but maybe just by like a few. We better have ourselves a kicker, Shane, because we may need them to win on the road here.
Man, I like the Arkansas optimism there because I think 2 weeks to prepare is what gave Tennessee a bigger edge here. If they came off that emotional win or loss with Oklahoma and then they rolled over there to Arkansas, that could be a problem. But 2 weeks to prepare, 2 weeks to get these guys healthy. I don't think this one's a problem at all. Tennessee big.
And keep in mind, Shane, Arkansas, they'll be coming off Auburn and Texas A&M leading into this game. So no break for them here. You know what?
Absolutely. No break at all.
Now, speaking of no breaks here, Shane, now we're getting into it. We're getting into the Florida Gators coming into town. We've done their preview series. We think they could be red hot here. Hell, for all I know, Shane, Florida could be arguably the hottest team in the country. They could have fired their entire coaching staff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it could go one way or another. There's so much bad mojo. There's so much history between these two, Florida, Tennessee. I mean, we were so damn confident last year, and Shane did a damn walking bet. This man, he don't like to walk to the bathroom.
Nope.
You know what I mean? But he put his walking on the line for this damn game because he was that confident Tennessee was going to whoop that ass, and Tennessee's got their ass whooped. So, again, I mean, I am not confident whatsoever about this, Shane. But if you're telling me who am I more confident in to show up this season, it's got to be Tennessee.
Yeah.
It's got to be at home. No more excuses. Heupel, we got to get this bad mojo that every Tennessee coach has had with the Florida Gators. Now he's starting to absorb some of it. If he loses this one, God, we're in real trouble here, brother. So I think Tennessee wins it, but I'm not confident at all. I mean, I said I'd never pick them to win this damn game again, but I guess I just did.
Yeah, well, I'm the same way, man. It's like, how many bad bets am I going to take? Like, this is the year Tennessee beats Florida. This is the year that Tennessee should not just beat them, destroy them. There's been a lot of those games that I thought, hey, man, kick them while they're down, and then all of a sudden they're beating the shit out of us. So this is a tough one. This is a close one that's near and dear to my heart. But it has to be the year, right? I mean, this has to be the year because I feel like one thing about the Florida Gators is they have that ability. This is a team that has that ability to extend drives, keep their offense on the field. It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be exciting, but it wouldn't surprise me if we had a 1/4 drive, and that's what they really need to have. But I don't see it happening because of Tennessee's defensive front. I think that's kind of the equalizer here is that I don't expect Florida to just run freely like they will against some of these other SEC teams. So, yeah, right. I'm saying it again. I say it every year, but give me Tennessee. Give me Tennessee big.
don't put any wagers on this one.
Not a single bet, man. Not a single bet.
All right, then the following week, Shane, again, man, what a heater this would be. Alabama, I don't anticipate they're going to take a huge step back with Kalen DeBoer as their head coach. He is outstanding. Jalen Milroe, I think, is criminally underrated. Mm-hmm. And if you actually go back and study what he did, Shane, at the tail end of last season, he was as hot as Jaden Daniels. Yeah. He really was. He beat Jaden Daniels head-to-head. They beat Carson Beck, who everybody's sucking up to as the best quarterback, best top NFL draft prospect from the SEC. He outdueled them. So you cannot underestimate Jalen Milroe, what he'll do in this Kalen DeBoer offense. They just got Michael Penix to be a top 10 draft pick. They may get Jalen Milroe up to that standard. I really think Alabama, this is going to be a great game. Tennessee whooped them first half last year, and then Bama whooped them in the second half. So I think this is really starting to become a rivalry here, Shane, because the last couple seasons, Bama wins at home, Tennessee wins at home, but they're always tight, and they're tough games. So there's a lot to go into this one. There's a lot of bad blood. The rivalry is real. The cigars are real. And Alabama, they're bringing them cigars up to Neyland Stadium for a reason this year, Shane. First season under Kalen DeBoer. First loss to Tennessee. Come on. There's be smoking them cigars for them Tennessee Vols. I think we jump out to a 7-0 start. Top 10 team in the country.
Brother, one of my favorite games was the one that Tennessee won, and smoking that cigar with you. I mean, the fact that I can name probably on one hand how many times that's even happened in my lifetime. It has been a rarity because, again, let's face it, the greatest of all time was coaching that team, and going into that game, you just knew. You were afraid of the patch, man. Say what it is. It's like you saw Alabama as that A just scared the hell out of you. I think that they got their guy. I think Alabama doesn't take as big of a step back as everybody's expecting here. They're super talented. They will continue to grow. They will continue to be one of the forces of the SEC. But I'm with you, buddy. I'm with you. If you've ever felt like you're going to get Alabama, it feels like it's going to be this year when they roll in there to Neyland. I think we beat them so bad that we don't even tear down the goalpost because half their team left in the fourth quarter. So I'm not saying it's a blowout, but I'm thinking a multiple score win here. This is a big, big win for Josh Heupel, and just a shot to remind everybody that this is a college football playoff team. So give me big win.
Now, next, credit the schedule maker, Shane. Not that this is an easy schedule, but home game, critical stretch here. Kentucky comes to Rocky Top, and if you don't know now, Kentucky's got more coming back on the defensive side of the football than anybody in the SEC. They got Deion Walker on the defensive lineman. I think he might be the best interior defensive lineman in the entire SEC. They got Dumas Johnson from Georgia, their middle linebacker the last 2 years when they won the national championship. He's their middle linebacker now. They got Harrison at corner. He's got more interceptions than anybody in the SEC last year. So they've got special dynamic talents, all sides of the defensive side of the football. But I'm a little concerned, obviously, with new offensive coordinator, new quarterback. If I knew what we were getting from them, from those two positions, I might even pick Kentucky to win this game because I think Kentucky could be good. But ifs, ands, or buts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. You know, Tennessee owns Kentucky. And this is where we insert the Nick Roush, it happened again image here because it's going to happen again. Tennessee gets off to an 8-0 start, whoops Kentucky on Rocky Top. Mark Stoops, sad once again.
Absolutely, man. I can't wait. And again, I am higher on Kentucky. We've not done them yet, but we're going to be getting into a deep dive on these guys because a lot of things you just said, they do have an elite defensive front. You know, they do have an elite wide receiver room, almost eerily similar to what Tennessee has, except they've got a quarterback back there that hasn't quite done it. We've seen a little bit of Nico, but we've not seen that much of Brock. And if he turns out to be Nico-esque, or maybe I shouldn't compare them. If he is a Will Levis-esque, then all of a sudden Kentucky is an opponent that all of a sudden you can't just pencil in as an easy victory. But there's a reason there's a whole bunch of Kentucky bottles of bourbon sitting behind me, Mike, because the Tennessee Vols do not lose to Kentucky. So I'm going to be getting a few more this year. Give me big Tennessee Vols.
Yeah, and then the following week, Shane, Tennessee goes to once again, another home game. My God, Shane, all these home games. Mississippi State comes to town. Outside of Vanderbilt, I think is the team you want the most in the SEC just this year. Not historically or anything like that, but this year. Mm-hmm. Jeff Lebby, I'm sure will have that offense fire, and this will not be a low-scoring game. I mean, I would anticipate both teams get maybe into the 30s here, but the problem is I don't know if Mississippi State gets a single stop in this football game, whereas Tennessee will get a couple here. So I like Tennessee. I like Tennessee big going into Georgia undefeated. How about it, Shane?
I'm right there with you, man. And you're right. There's been some good Mississippi State teams. In fact, I stumbled across a video. I'm doing the countdown, and Eric Berry had a 73-yard interception return for touchdown, but it was only like 16-3. It was a tight football game. Mississippi State will be back. They will be a top, I would say an 8-win season, 9-win season before you know it, and this has potential to be one of the most exciting football games of the year based on these offenses. The defenses are going to be exhausted because they're going to be on the field the entire time. But brother, I think that Tennessee Vols gets an easy victory here.
Yeah, me too. So that'll lead into Georgia, Shane. Boo dogs. Big matchup here, Shane. Kirby Smart has got Heupel figured out. And I like that people say that, but really what he's got figured out is he's got 25-star defensive players. I mean, when you got that much talent, you can figure out a lot of things.
Yeah.
Maybe not Nick Saban in Alabama, but you can figure out a lot of things. So, again, going down to Athens, Georgia shows up in these big-time games better than anybody. Carson Beck, he I give him a little bit of a hard time, but he really is worth all the hype, all the his first year as a starter. He aced nearly every test. Just one so-so game may have cost, well, it did cost Georgia a national championship losing to Alabama. But, again, he came back a man on a mission to prove that he can get there. So I just think this is going to be a driven Georgia team. Particularly if Tennessee does as well as we think, they could be catching Georgia napping going into Athens. This could be SEC championship on the line. This could be college football playoff on the line if Georgia or Tennessee has dropped the game heading into this one. So a lot on the line. It's in Athens. It's probably going to be damn raining again, Shane. Give me the dogs. I hate to do it, but Tennessee, I just don't see a way they come in here and pull this one off.
Mike, you want to talk about a championship game. That's what this is. I think I don't like that you hear teams say that this is their Super Bowl or whatever. But if this truly is the year that you're going to make a run for a national championship, well, you got to beat the best. And Georgia Bulldogs are that. They are deep. They are talented. And one of the things you hit on with Kirby Smart, it just seems like he's always one step ahead. Like he got the playbook a day before or something. That's kind of what it feels like. But unfortunately, until I see a close football game, even optimistically coming into this game, I cannot pencil it in as a victory. I hope it's close, and I hope we do upset them. But odds are them Georgia Bulldogs are going to come out ahead again.
Right, and even last year, Shane, I mean, it was a perfect dream scenario. What was it? First play, 75-yard touchdown run.
I was there.
Neyland Stadium, you're like, by God, this is the year.
I'm glad I'm here, baby, because I'm getting down there on the field, and then it was like easy to get to the field because everybody left by the end of the third quarter.
What a nightmare. But again, that's Georgia. They're on a different level. So going up next to UTEP, returning home, this should be another pick your score type game. And again, if this was Mississippi State, if this was Kentucky, if this was Arkansas, I'd be really concerned, Shane, that you let one game beat you twice. I don't even know if you need your starters to beat damn UTEP. So perfect scheduling here for whoever made this schedule for Tennessee, because even if there is a letdown, you're still going to wax UTEP.
Yeah, people get on to scheduling here. I like this. I like having this behind the Georgia game because if you look, the way they end this season here, couple of cupcake teams, I mean, say what you want, it should be easy wins, kind of get your boys rest, because if this is a Vol team that's going to hit the playoffs, you've got two kind of I don't want to call them preseason games, but kind of feels like that. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And then, well, yeah, preseason, I guess Vanderbilt, at Vanderbilt, there's probably going to be more Tennessee. In fact, I know there will be more Tennessee fans than Vanderbilt fans, as sad as that is. But that's how it'll go right before the holidays. Tennessee will win big at Vanderbilt. But 11-1, that's where I have it, Shane. Is that where you're going as well?
I have 11-1 myself, Mike.
So that's going to be a lock for the college football playoff.
Yeah.
Do you think Tennessee, again, it's difficult to answer this question, but if Tennessee goes 11-1 in this scenario, do they make the SEC championship game, do you think?
SEC championship game. I think Georgia's in, and man, there's a real shot because it's going to be so tough to go undefeated in the SEC. All these teams,
Right.
So there is a real shot that I think you see Tennessee again. If it's 11-1, definitely in the in the SEC championship game.
Right, because even Georgia, as much as we praise them, Shane, Clemson, at Bama, at Texas, at Ole Miss, Tennessee, Florida. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility that they drop a game. So, in fact, I kind of anticipate they will. I don't know that we're going to have a single undefeated team in the SEC this year. So 11-1, it's not a lock, but I think that gets you to Atlanta this year in the SEC. I really do.
11-1 gets you in there. If your only loss is Georgia Bulldogs, I think that's what people are going to want to see again as a rematch. So yeah, I'm right there with you. Because again, you're saying, okay, let's say my Texas Longhorns go undefeated, but they lose to Georgia. Or now which one do you put in? I'm sure there's I'm sure there's like a formula out there. They're not asking me who's going to get in. Obviously, if I'm a Tennessee guy, I love the SEC championship, and I think there's a lot to say about winning the regular season. So I would love to see them in there. But worst case scenario, if they're not, then that's just again some more time to get prepared for the playoffs.
Well, let me ask you this then, Shay. Let's just put Tennessee in the championship game. Who would you rather them face? Georgia again, Texas, who they haven't faced, or Ole Miss, or Missouri? You got those four options, and I'm not really even asking you, like who's the best matchup or anything like that. But maybe Cousin Shane gets to handpick what games he want to see most in the SEC championship. Tennessee versus who?
Well, I think strategically, I'd want Georgia again. I think if you play them 3 times, I mean, wouldn't you want that to kind of get some of that film study, and maybe you can also learn what's not working or what is working. So there's a part of me that would want to see the Georgia game, but then there's a part of me that would be drawn to the Mizzou. Naturally, I think that would be a fun one to attend. Personally, it's like watching, your 2 kids fight in the front yard. He's like, so I believe that's the route I would go if I was picked, or maybe even Lane Kiffin. I don't know, man.
You can't pick them all, Shane.
I'm picking them all. I'd love to see that. All of them are going to be great games. Battle of UTs. I mean, I don't know, man. That's a tough one if I'm picking now. So that's why I'm going to go Georgia, just to kind of take the emotions out of it and use it more for strategy.
I'm going to go Ole Miss, Shane, because I just want to see Lane Kiffin, how many mustard bottles, how many golf balls he brings to the press conferences, to the game. He's going to muck it up.
If that happens, Mike, we're going to that game, and you're dressing up as a mustard bottle, and I'm dressing up as a golf ball. That's without a doubt what's happening here.
All right, then finally, Shane, most important games for Tennessee to win. We do this for every preview here. I'm going. Curious to know if you'll go same one with me, Shane. Number 1, most important game to win.
Can I guess?
Sure.
Florida Gators.
It's got to be Florida, Shane. Tennessee does simply not have a good season ever if they can't beat them Florida Gators. And that's kind of sad because a lot of people think Florida's going to be awful this year, yet they could be awful. Hell, they were not awful last year, but very disappointing. They still whooped Tennessee. Yeah. So, I have that one circled 3 times in red here.
Absolutely. I got them number 1. I've got Oklahoma number 2, Mike. I think that's a big one. It's a huge matchup for Nico on the road. It's a bigger matchup for Oklahoma, first game in the SEC. So, yeah, that's why I went with those 2.
Yep, that's exactly what I said. And number 3, Shane, no surprise, I don't think. I think it's Alabama.
Yep.
That's got to be the number 3 for Tennessee. If you win those 3, you are probably going to the college football playoff. Even if you win 2 of them, you're probably going. Yeah, not a lock by any means, but if you win all 3 of them, I can guarantee you now Tennessee is going to the college football playoff.
Alabama's a big one, Mike, and I think it's too big psychologically. Beating Alabama a couple of times within a short span, even last year they kept it close. So that whole psychology that we can never beat this team, that we've kind of started with Georgia, that we've been dealing with Florida, I think you take that all off the table if you beat Alabama. And
you can kind of put the Nick Saban era behind you.
Absolutely.
And say, that whatever happened there, I don't even remember. Well, we own this Caleb DeBoer. We own this series now. That was just the last coach that owned us, not this university. You know what?
That's right. What is that? It'd be, instead of AD, it'd be AN, after Nick,
All right, buddy. So, hey, that's all we got on this episode of the show. As always, if you made it this far, please like, subscribe, share. That's all we ask from you guys. We don't ask for much. But, hey, that's going to do it, buddy. I appreciate you for sticking in here, showing up, and I appreciate each and every one of you. We'll catch you on the next one.
All right, see you guys. Go Vols, baby!